Hello everyone and welcome to this new YouTube video series. This series gonna be more focused on the programming side rather than coordination or modeling tasks. And I decided to record this series because when I was learning how to handle Visual Studio Code, I used to create my Python scripts in Dynamo in the Python node that we have within Dynamo by default. But I realized that we have our IDEs for one purpose, right? Those IDEs will allow us to write code easier, okay? Because we have autocomplete and we can also reference Revit API, for instance, okay? So for that reason, I decided to record this video because when I was trying to find a video on YouTube where the user showed me how to set up my Visual Studio Code in order to work alongside Dynamo, it wasn't easy to me to find a specific video that teaches me that task. Okay, so for that reason, I decided to record this video where we will see how we can set up our Visual Studio Code environment in order to work with Dynamo. Okay. I also decided to start this Notion page instead of creating PowerPoint because this I can open this Notion page for everyone. Okay, here you can see that anyone with link at my Notion page can access to this page. Okay, so members with the link can access to this Notion page, so I'm gonna paste the link to this Notion page in the description box, okay, in the YouTube video. If we start diving into the different sections that this Notion page has, we will see the different topics that we are going to cover today. Okay, the first session is to create a virtual environment within our Visual Studio Code. Okay, but in order to create our virtual environment, first of all, we need to have Visual Studio installed in our machine. Okay, so yeah, as I have just said, the first topic that we are gonna cover is how to install Python, Visual Studio Code, and also how to configure Visual Studio Code in our machine. Okay, because this is quite important to adapt the user interface to our user requirements. Then we will see how we can create the virtual environment, okay, how we can reference the Revit API, and also, and last but not least, how we can test that our Python scripts are working with Dynamo Sandbox. So now that we are gonna start with the installation files, let me highlight here that I'm not gonna cover all the steps through the installation process because I already have installed in my machine not only Python but also Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here I highlight the most important aspects that you guys have to bear in mind while installing Python and Visual Studio Code in your machine. Okay, but before jumping into the installation process, I asked ChatGPT what Python is. Okay, and here you can see that it says that Python is a high-level interpreted programming language, and it is quite famous because of its simplicity and readability. Okay, if you ask someone which programming language you should start learning, they are gonna reply to you that Python is your choice. Okay, here you can see that I also let me zoom it. Here you can see that I attached an hyperlink to the Python installation file, so you just need to click on here on this button and the installation file will be downloaded. Okay, once that you start with the installation process, you just need to go through all the steps until you come up with this window. Okay, once that you are in this window, please, here you need to enable this choice, add Python and the version that you have downloaded to path. You need to enable this choice and install now. So the next step is to install Visual Studio Code. Okay, here you can see that I also asked ChatGPT what Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code is what we call IDE. Okay, here it says that it is a free and open source code editor developed by Microsoft. Okay, this is quite important, free and open source code editor. As I said, this is what we call IDE. We have some other IDEs in the market. For instance, we also have PyCharm, which is a IDE which was just created in order to work with Python. Okay, and I might uh, I might I will probably record another video showing how to download PyCharm and also how to set up PyCharms. Okay, because as I have just said, it is a IDE which was just created in order to work with Python, so it provides you many advantages. Okay. Here you can also find the hyperlink. Okay, to download Visual Studio Code, you just need to click here, Windows, and the installation file. You just need to click on next. Okay. I'm going to close this. Visual Studio Code configuration. In this section, we are going to see how we can configure our Visual Studio Code environment in order to work efficiency while developing Python scripts. Okay. To do so, here I have written down some extensions that we have to install in our Visual Studio Code environment. Okay, let me put this window here in my second script, and I'm going to open. If you already have installed your Visual Studio Code, please open it up, and this is the main interface of Visual Studio Code. Okay, let me run through the different buttons that the software has. Here you can see that we have the Explorer. Okay, if we click on the Explorer, here it is where we can open the different folders, create new files, and so on. Okay, this is where we open our workspace. This is also important. Okay, this is if we want to work with GitHub. Okay, I think the third session that I'm gonna record is to show how to work with GitHub. Okay, and how we can commit all our changes in a repository like GitHub. Okay, this is to run debug, and this is where we can find the extensions that we might be interested in installing in our machine. Okay, as I told you, I'm gonna to tell you some extensions that we need to install in our, well, we do not need them, but as we are about to see, they will help us to work while we are developing our Python scripts. Okay, the first thing, well, this is the extensions button. Okay, but we can also access to this extension menu through this manage and settings here. Extensions, sorry, here. Okay, here we have it, extensions. Okay, so once that we are here, you can see that here in install I have several extensions, but the first one that we are going to double check, it is not an extension, but we are going to double check that we have Python installed. So we just need to type here Python. We click on Python, and here we will see if we have already installed Python in our machine, and also if we have enabled it or disabled it. Okay. The next, this is an extension, and it is called OneDark Pro. It is this one. You can see that I already installed it, and here if you click here, you can set the color theme. You can see that I can switch the different themes. Okay, but I'm going to leave OneDark Pro. The next one is Material Icon Theme. It is this one by Philip Keefe, and this is just how when we create, for instance, I don't know, a Android file, the icon that we are going to see in the file explorer, okay, in the tree. Next one is black formatter. This extension will help us to fulfill the PEP8, which is a format that we need to fulfill when developing our Python scripts. Okay, you have more info on the internet. Let me show you here. If you just type PEP8 Python on Google, you have here that it is a style guide for Python code. Okay, I strongly recommend you to have a look at this page. Okay, but you can see that we can install extensions in order to meet those style guide requirements. Okay, next one is auto doc strings. This is just to document our functions. Okay, I will show you later on how to use it. This is not an extensions, but let me, for instance, this is a setting that I would like you to set because, well, it is up to you. Okay, but if we go here to the manage wheel and settings, if you type here in search settings cursor, you need to find cursor blinking. Okay, here it is, cursor blinking. Okay, this one, and here we choose expand. Okay, this is the how we are going to see our cursor moving in our user interface in Visual Studio Code. Okay, and last but not least is to modify our setting.json file. Okay, if I go here to settings and I remove everything that I have in the search bar, but before doing that I need to go to extensions, here Python, yeah, because I'm going to configure my setting.json file for Python. Okay, so here I need to select Python, go to the manage wheel, extension settings, and here you can see that we just have here user, but when we have a workspace opened in Visual Studio Code, here we will see two different choices. Okay, user and workspace. Okay, so Visual Studio Code allows you to configure two different settings file. Okay, the format of that setting JSON file is JSON format. Okay, so as I don't have any workspace open, I only have here user. Okay, so here I open edit in setting.json file. You can see that I already have some configurations inserted. Okay, but in the Notion page I left you a snippet, an image snippet, and also in code format, in JSON format. Okay, my configuration, so you just need to copy and paste it in your JSON file. Okay, you just need to replace your file path with your user file path. Okay, you can see that we have the default formatter, this thing, the extension that we installed previously. It is going to be applied, this formatter, when we save the file, the color theme, the icon theme, and so on. Okay, I'm going to close this, and this. Okay, moving forward, the next step is to create our virtual environment. Okay, let me put this window in my second screen. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to go to my desktop or anywhere you wish to create your virtual environment. And as I said before, a virtual environment is an environment that is going to work for one Python interpreter. With Python interpreter, I mean Python version. So we can create as much as virtual environment in our machine as we wish. Okay, and within each virtual environment, we can set different configurations. Okay, so when we are working, for instance, with one Revit API version, we do know that some Revit API versions are not allowed to work with some specific Python versions, right? Releases. So we can create the different environments. Okay, we can create one virtual environment with one Revit API and one Python interpreter. Okay, so just switching in Visual Studio Code from one interpreter, from one virtual environment to another virtual environment, I will be 100% sure that my scripts are running. Okay, so here you can see that I created in my desktop session 1 folder, and here it is where I'm going to create my virtual environment. So I go to Visual Studio Code, I go to File, here, Open folder, Desktop, and I select this folder. I'm going to close everything, and you can see here that I have my folder open, my workspace. Okay, then it is important to have our terminal open. If you cannot see this, okay, this is the terminal. Okay, if you cannot see this, please go to terminal and new terminal. Okay, you can see that you have your terminal. And another thing that it is important is that you might not have your terminal pointing at your folder, okay, your workspace. So to do that, just type in here, well, let me go. If you want to move backward in the folder structure, you just need to type cd and 2 dots. And you can see that now instead of being at this level, I'm in videos level. Okay, if I type again the same, you can see that now I'm in Juan MC. And if I want to move forward in the folder structure, I can just type cd space and tab, and it is going to show me the different folders. If I tap again, and I have several folders within this folder level, it will allow me to choose which folder I want to select. Okay, here I'm going to select videos, cd space tab, session 1. Okay, now that I'm here, I'm going to type the next command, Python m with this sign, venv, and now the name of my virtual environment. I'm going to type my virtual environment, or just as this is a virtual environment that I would create in order to work with my Revit 22 API version, I'm going to call it RVT22. Okay, and I hit the enter button of my keyboard. Okay, after hitting the enter button of my keyboard, you will see that a new folder was created here. Okay, which is called the name of the environment that I chose here. It also created some different folders. Let me go here and I will show you the folders. This folder is empty. This is the different libraries. Okay, within under this site packages folder, we have different libraries, and this is the most important folder, scripts. Here you can see that we have this Python file. This is the Python version, Python interpreter version that we selected in order to create our virtual environment. Okay, in order to create this virtual environment here. Okay, so now if I go to Visual Studio Code and I press in my keyboard Control Shift P, here you can see that this window open. Now here I'm going to reload the window because I installed some stuff or I created a virtual environment and I always need to refresh the window. Okay, so just type in reload, I can reload the window. And now if I press again Ctrl Shift P, you can see that I have another option which says select interpreter, and if I cannot find it, I just need to type select interpreter, and here we will see the different virtual environments that we created. This is the virtual environment that I have just created, and we can select some others that we might have in our computer. Okay, you can see that here I do have another one. So I select the one that I created, and now just to test if everything is fine, I'm going to create here in my session 1 folder a test.py file, and you can see that just typing the extension, the format of the file, an icon has been attached to that file, and this is because the material icon theme that I installed in my extension. So I hit enter, and now if we have a look here down to my virtual environment, you can see here that it says Revit 22 virtual environment. Okay, this is the main advantage of the virtual environments. Visual Studio Code allows me, if I click here, Visual Studio Code allows me to switch between different virtual environments. Let's say that instead of running a Python script for one Revit API version, I want to run it from another Revit API version. Okay, so I just need to create a new virtual environment configured in order to work with that Revit API version. Okay, so it is quite straightforward to switch among different configuration in Visual Studio Code. Okay, it is the same in PyCharm. So you can see, you can also see how my blue cursor is blinking. This is another setup that we inserted before doing anything, before creating the virtual environment. And now I'm going to show you what some extensions do. Okay, I'm going to create, for instance, let me open here. Yeah. Well, before doing this, I want to focus on the terminal. You can see that, okay, here we have selected our session 1 folder, but we do not have our virtual environment selected. Okay, in order to do that, as I said before, we have our interpreter under this level, scripts Python. Okay, so we need to dive into our folders until we find the scripts folder, and here we are going to type activate. If we come up with this error, okay, you just need to type that /activate, and now you can see that we have in green our virtual environment selected. If you want to clean the terminal up, you just need to type clear and hit enter. Okay, and you can see that the virtual environment remains selected. Okay, this is important when we want to install packages within our virtual environment, and that's something that we will see in the next session. Okay, I'm going to create here a random function, b return a plus b. You can see that here I made some errors on purpose because I want to show you some stuff here. You can see that I didn't leave a blank space between the comma and the b. here as well. Okay, I didn't insert any space, and I didn't insert a white line between the return and the print statement. Okay, but if I click on Control S, if I save this file, okay, I already pressed Control S, you can see that the code has been formatted, okay, because I installed the black formatter extension. Okay, and another extension that we installed is docstring. Okay, docstring is an extension that allows you to document functions. So if I insert triple double quote, we will see generate docstring. We hit enter in our keyboard, and you can see that this string has been created in order to document our function. Here I can insert this is a function to add two numbers. This is the argument A, it is going to be a number format. This is my first number. The second, you can insert whatever you want. Okay, it can be a string. We can see here string. This is my second argument, and it returns I don't know, a string or a float or whatever. Okay, I'm making it up. Okay, this might be a number. Here we are gonna get a float and whatever. Okay, so these are two of the extensions that we installed in our Visual Studio Code. Okay, we also activate our virtual environment, and if we want to deactivate it, we just need to type deactivate. Okay, you can see that we do not have our virtual environments activated. Okay, but I'm going to leave it activated. The next step is to reference. Let me close this. We already covered all this stuff here, and the next step is to reference the Revit API. In order to link our Revit API with our virtual environment, okay, we need to download the stabs file from GitHub. This is a hyperlink. If we click on it, you will go to this GitHub repository, okay, and we will need to download this. Okay, to download this, you need to click here in code here. Okay, we click code and download zip. I think I already downloaded it. Let me double check it. Open in new tab. Yes, I have it here. I have it here, and now you need to unzip it. Okay, once that you have unloaded it, we unzip it, and sorry, let me unzip it. Well, I'm going to open it, and I'm going to show you the folder that we need to copy. If we go to release, we need to copy this folder. Okay, so let me cut it. I'm going to my lib set packages, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, instead of pasting it here, I chose this file path, okay, because it is cleaner, okay, because yeah, this is just for packages, okay. I'm going to use this level for references, okay. So now if we go to the Notion page, you can see that now we need to change our setting.json file, okay. I also dropped here a snippet, okay, where we just need to copy and paste this JSON code. Okay, I'm going to copy it and adapt this file path to the file path where we pasted the stabs Revit API reference. Okay, so in order to open that JSON file, we need to go to Python. in extensions, Python. We click here in this wheel, manage extension settings, and now you can see that we do not only have user but also workspace. So now as I have my workspace open, which is the virtual environment, I click here, editing settings.json, and here I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm going to copy this file path, going to paste it here. I need to insert double slash, and I copy and paste this here. I save it. Okay, and now if I go to my test.py file, let me reload this. Okay, reload this from auto. You can see that the API is red. That design script that geometry import point. Okay, so now we are able to read our Revit API reference. Okay, not only the Revit API, okay, here Autodesk dot Revit dot db, but also the design script library. Okay, so in order to test this, I'm going to open Dynamo Sandbox. Okay, you have here the hyperlink to